can you gain investing in this film, investing in this kind of script? I think there's an audience for any kind of film you put out there, be it an independent, a short film, a feature film. You always have an audience. I feel there are a lot of good ideas out there. People have a lot of unique scripts and unique stories, but people are not investing in that.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Dollar Diaries. Today we have Liz as our guest. Hi Liz.
Hi guys.
So tell me about your day.
My day. It was tiring. I'm trying to beat the heat in Dubai, but I'm losing because it's like extremely hot out. But my day was good.
Yeah, what did you do?
Today I was editing at home, so it was a post-production day. So yeah, it was kind of like boring, kind of drab.
Run us through the post-production process. What do you typically do during post-production? It's a fancy term, but we don't know what it means.
Or like, what do you work in general?
So I am
Hey, don't undercut my question.
No, but I generally want to know what she works as.
So I am a freelance content creator, wherein I do videography, photography, editing, everything under that umbrella. And you were asking what is post-production. So post-production has to do with editing. So it's whatever, editing your footage, your videos, the audio. So all of that comes under post-production.
Okay, so I can hire you as my wedding photographer and videographer?
Definitely.
Are you getting ready?
Do you have a date ready?
No, I don't. Not anytime soon, but just I'll keep you in mind.
Yes, please do.
Done.
All right, so run us through how you do your freelancing, right? What is the process of finding your clients? How do you charge them? What is the process of finding clients and everything?
Yeah, so usually I get my clients mostly through referrals. So probably a client that I worked with, they kind of refer me to someone else, and that's how I kind of built my clients. And when it comes to charging, it's mostly it depends on the project. So how many hours is required, what kind of work, whether it's very production intensive or it's post-production intensive. So I kind of charge based on that. It varies like client to client.
So what type of like photography do you do?
Mostly events. I like event photography. I feel that's what I'm good at. So I kind of focus on that. I do product photography as well, but not as much as events.
What I know from freelancing is you don't get clients, like your clients is not like, like confirmed.
Yes.
Like, you
Consistency
get what I mean?
is
Consistency.
very like it's
So
the
how
difficult
like
thing.
on days, on like months when you don't have clients, when you go without clients, how do you like manage your finances and everything?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that I've been practicing for a while now, how to kind of allocate finances, because freelancing, you need to take into account not having any clients and not having any income. So having that allotment really helps. So yeah.
On average, on a month-on-month basis,
Yeah.
how many clients do you typically have?
On an
On a
average,
good month, per se.
on average about 4.
Mm-hmm.
On a good month, it's more than that, of course.
Alright.
And about.
And do you have any specifics about your capacity? Like how many clients can you manage in a month?
No, even if it's too much, I still take it up because, you got to make provision for days where you don't have. And yeah, so I like to never turn down any client because you never know, right? It can really help you in the long run if they keep coming back to you for more work. So yeah, never turn. So if I'm kind of overloaded with work, what I do is I have certain people who I work with. So if I can't manage probably post-production, then I kind of give it to my colleagues to kind of do it.
Okay.
So we kind of collaborate like that. So
That's interesting.
helps.
And on average, typically, how much do you bill per client? Do you have like a standard rate, or is it based on what you're feeling?
It's based on the work mostly, but I mean, of course, I do take into account the number of hours that I have to put in, and I usually bill them based on that.
So if you don't mind me asking, how much do you charge your client, like for a very basic project?
Okay, so if we look at hours, so for example, if it's half a day, which is 4 hours, 4 hour shoot, I usually charge them about 1,000, and a full day, which is 8 hours, I would charge probably between 1,500 to 1,750. around that much.
So this is like you doing photography, videography, or you just doing the back work, which is like editing and stuff?
No, it's both. So if it's videography, it is shooting and editing. Even
Okay.
pictures, it's taking the pictures and then later on, color correcting or color grading
Okay.
it.
And
Yeah.
what set you to this path as a career? Right? What was your motivation to enter as a freelancer?
Well, I needed money. But no, actually, I studied film, so I got into this whole thing because I like film. So I did it. I did my bachelor's in film production. I got into film because I like to write, but right now I'm on the technical part of it. But hopefully in the future, I kind of get back.
Scriptwriter.
Yeah, get back to my
Right,
passion.
so there is not a lot of writing per se in events and all these things, right? These are
No, not really actually, because you're kind of shooting something that already, at least with events. If you have something like if probably your clients want a corporate video or something, then you have that freedom to kind of be creative. But events, it's very like
So,
what there is.
so you said you're into like film and you've studied film. So have
Yes.
you made any movies?
I did,
Okay.
but the last short film that I did was in university. Yeah, so it's mostly like short films, small productions here and there.
on a typical basis, right? How many people and what type of equipments would you require for creating like a short film, right? And what is the process? How long is the process of creating a short film?
I mean, I think you can get a short film from your pre-production to production and post. You can get that done in like a month's time. I mean, if you really work on it, you work very hard on it. Yeah, so basically when you shoot, you need, of course, a writer. It begins with a writer. Then you need a director. You need your camera person, your cinematographer. Then whoever, your light, your gaffers and all. And then you need your editor. So this is our kind of team. So it's like each person managing one department. Because, of course, we don't have infinite resources. Because it's mostly like we don't earn anything from these short films, right? It's more of a passion, hobby kind of thing.
So, did you know that you wouldn't really be earning a lot of money coming into film in, say, Dubai?
I did, but I was hoping that I would. But I mean, sadly, that's not the reality. But it's okay. I mean, I'm happy being in content creation because I think there's a lot of scope in it, at least now, as companies kind of really take into account how they market themselves, how they put themselves out there.
So why are you a freelancer not working for a company?
Good
Or like
question.
an agency? Yeah.
That's mostly because I like having that flexibility. Also, I like to work with different people because I think you learn a lot more when you're working with multiple people rather than, at least in this field. There's a lot more that you can learn from different kinds of companies and what they do. So I think that's one. And freelancing and content creation in Dubai is quite good because I feel like you would be restricted if you had a normal full-time job. You'd be restricted to work in that company. Whereas when you're freelancing in this, when you're freelancing in this area, you're open to many different types of projects.
Okay.
So yeah, that's why freelancing.
And why do you think that there is not a lot of scope for you in film in this country? Is there a particular reason that you think is systemic, or do you think that there is a room for improvement for filmmakers like you to make a lot of money in the process?
There is definitely a lot of room. I think in UAE, the film industry is still growing up. It's still trying to, kind of build a base for themselves. I would think not many people into film is in Dubai. So, people mostly look at Hollywood or Bollywood or something like that. But, so I remember my dad telling me, it's either you can be a small fish in a big sea or a big fish in a small sea. You kind of decide what you want to be. So, I mean, that's why I'm here in Dubai and I'm trying to make film happen. Because there is right now no scope, but, you kind of create that opportunities. I
So
think
do you
that's
think
important.
it's getting anywhere?
Yeah, hopefully, touch wood. At least in my circle.
All right. When you talk about big fish, small fish, right?
Yeah.
Do you consider yourself a big fish in this country, at least at the moment?
I would like to think so.
Okay.
Because, I mean, not too many people I know kind of studied film or focuses on film. it is still like a very passion. Like they have their normal day job, and film is a hobby. Film is a passion. It is like that for me right now, but I do hope to kind of get into film on a full-time basis soon. So
But wouldn't that be an disadvantage for you? Because there's not many companies or agencies that, work for film and all of that. Wouldn't it be better for you to like move abroad to America or something where film is like a big thing?
yeah. So the thing is that see now, for example, America, Hollywood, there are a bunch of people making films. So it's very difficult to get. So for example, if I have a script and I want that to be financed, it's very difficult because of the kind of competition that exists over there. Whereas here, because you just have like a handful of writers, handful of people making films, you stand a better chance when you pitch yourself. So that's why I feel like I mean, of course, there are pros and cons to both being here or there. But I think if you focus on the advantages, you can really do something.
So when we look at, when you're talking about pitching yourself, right? I come from a business background where,
Yes.
we pitch businesses and things, right? So there is a room full of investors or a single investor. We go in with a pitch deck of sorts where we say, this is how the business is supposed to work.
Yeah.
This is how we make revenue. Here is what makes us unique. Now, when it comes to filming and films and storytelling, it itself is a unique process, right? So what is the core components that goes into pitching yourself for investments?
Yeah, especially over here, because if you look at it, like, I mean, I don't know the stats, but I don't think, in a general view, there are a lot of like, agencies or companies or even like single investors financing any like movie production or anything like that. Like, if I was to make a movie, I don't think my movie would like reach the cinema or anything like that. Especially if I'm sitting in Dubai and doing it.
Which also makes it like a hard sell for the investors as well, right? Like, because
Yeah.
people don't want to invest money for free, right? They want some sort of return, if not like a large enough return, at least like their principal back, right? So how do you navigate that situation?
As you mentioned, how do we kind of pitch ourselves? So I feel the way we pitch ourselves for funding for films is very similar to how you would pitch a business idea, because I think investors, what they actually look for is what returns they're going to get on that investment, whether they're going to get it in monetary value or in whatever kind of the having a platform or that kind of thing. So mostly investors are not very much concerned with the script, so in terms of the story, and also the way we pitch it is like that, what can you gain investing in this film, investing in this kind of script. Then you were saying about
The financing aspect
the
of it, yeah.
the scope in Dubai. So the thing is that over here in the UAE, there are a lot of investors for films. So mostly to do with Bollywood. So if you see many of the films that have been made in Bollywood, you have certain investors, huge investors over here in Dubai who fund that.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. Okay.
So a lot of Emirati investors mostly. And so that's basically, it's not that there isn't, there is a big group of people who invest here in Dubai.
It's
when it
just
comes
not
to-
open to the public. It's
Yeah.
very like underground type thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So in that scenario, right, you're practically competing with Bollywood, where they have Shah Rukh Khan and Salman Khan,
Yeah.
right, being like the stars of these things, right? You're technically competing with them for financing, right? So how do you sort of navigate that situation, right? Because there is no way you would.
No, but if she's making a movie and producing it, she wouldn't be making the big movies, right? Like she
Right.
says, she makes
Yeah,
short
it's
movies.
mostly the short.
Short movies. So there is a lot of scope in Bollywood as well for like short movies, and not many like the actors who like act in the short movies are not known to a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's only
Correct.
the people who are like dedicated to watching like short movies. Then if it's like reoccurring the same people, then they'll be like, okay, yeah, I know this one was in that movie and stuff.
Exactly.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
I think there's an audience for any kind of film you put out there, be it an independent, a short film, a feature film. You always have an audience.
And now there's a lot to do with Netflix and like Disney Plus and
Yeah,
stuff.
the
like,
OTT platforms.
yeah, like I don't even think because
Correct.
there are a lot of movies that don't even make it to the cinema,
Yeah.
but they end up coming onto Netflix.
Correct.
So I think
I think there was also this one scenario, right, where Warner Brothers, if I'm not wrong, Warner Brothers, they shelved a movie because for tax purposes and things, right? So some of the films that typically get made also get shelved because large corporations think it's not an ideal
Yeah.
thing. Right? So these things happen, right? But the core of it is like, if you and I can write, right? Maybe not as good as Liz, but you and I can write. And now with the technology improving, ChatGPT can write, right? Is it good? Is it bad? It's a whole other conversation, right? But if a tool that can write your scripts at a faster pace, right? How do you convince your investors or potential investors that what you return is worth investing in?
See, so with ChatGPT, the only way you can get what you want is if you kind of input the right words, put in the right information to get what you want. Otherwise you're going to get something very general. So clients usually want something that's very customized. And I feel AI, ChatGPT, and all, they don't produce, they don't give you that option. Something that's already out there, that's already existing is what you get. So for that customizing and that kind of uniqueness, I think, that's a unique selling point in having actual humans do your work. So yeah.
And speaking of productions and post productions, what technology really fascinates you and you would adopt immediately? Is there a particular technology that is currently being tested, being used, that really fascinates you?
So recently I was reading, there's this one technology wherein you can animate anything. For example, you shoot someone moving, so the software basically detects that movement and you can create any kind of avatar, anything, with just that movement. So that was recently funded by Steven Spielberg, and it's I think it's
Is it similar to your Adobe, what is it, character animation?
it's kind of like that, but it's a whole new level. So you're not putting in a lot of effort in animation. Basically your software is doing everything for you. You're not doing any kind of 3D modeling, nothing. So that's like pretty cool.
Okay, so you were talking about this technology that animates people, animates things, and makes animation a lot easier, right? And this is also supported by large filmmakers and things, right? So wouldn't you think that this could lead to people, animators especially, losing their jobs? What do you feel about that?
Yeah, definitely. Recently in Hollywood there was a writer's strike.
It's still going
They
on, yeah.
felt
Yeah.
like AI is taking over their jobs. I personally am not really for this kind of.
For you as a writer.
Yeah, exactly. Like me as a writer, I'm definitely not for these kind of developments in technology as such.
But then again, I would think, AI makes everyone's lives easier. It's faster.
Yeah.
It's easier, it's simpler, and it gets work done a lot quicker than a human would. Like if a human gives me a time frame of like 1 week of writing a script, AI can probably do it in like 4 days.
Correct.
So why would I go for a human and not go for an AI?
No, and even taking like a perspective, not just as a business, but take the perspective of a director, right? So you see Steven Spielberg, right? One of the best directors, right?
Yeah.
He's investing in technology that makes his life easier. You're looking at Russo brothers. Guhaesh, can you just check this for me? The Russo brothers, they have a venture capital thing where they invested in an, if I'm not wrong, some sort of an AI startup that reduces the production time as well, right? So you're seeing not just the business people opting for this, but even the creatives who actually create the product opting for this. So what are your thoughts on it, right? Like, do you think it's the right direction that they're doing it, or do you think it's maybe like there are unforeseen consequences for people working in this industry?
See, I feel technology will keep developing. You can't kind of go back to how we were, So I think adaptability is really important, because I think when we kind of moved from film to, movies being shot on film and now movies being shot digitally, people were like, why are you doing that, but now everything is shot digitally. So I think people have to adapt. No matter how much I'm kind of against the whole AI, I think to some level you have to kind of accept it and kind of use it as a tool, because in the end of the day it is a tool, right? So yeah,
That is an interesting thing, right? Like, you're talking about how people move from film to digital, right?
Yes.
But you still see like a director like Nolan, for
Yeah.
example, he still shoots it in film rather than shooting it digitally. But if you really see the entire industry, right? Everybody's shooting it in digital, but this one dude's sitting and shooting it in film, right?
Yeah.
How long is Nolan going to be there, right? What happens after Nolan? It's going to move out. So in that scenario, are you saying it's fair for these people to lose their jobs just because they didn't adapt, or do you think there should be a better way to slowly transition people from it?
But then it's not only this industry. It's
No,
all
we-
industries.
We take, for example, right? Even in other industries, right? There used to be a job called typist,
Yeah.
right? People used to sit and type things, right?
Typewriters.
Typewriters,
Yeah.
right? Now people don't really sit and type. It's expected of you to come out and learn how to use a word
Yeah.
processing software, right? So again, the question comes, right? If somebody doesn't know how to use word processing, but they're good at certain things, they just don't know how to use word. Does that mean they don't deserve a job, or do you think there should be a better way to acclimate these people into the workforce?
Yeah, I think, see, if you look at, okay, so speaking about film, now, for example, before VFX, there was not much VFX. I mean, people used to kind of use the film strips and cut it, and that's how it was done. But now with movies, like Marvel movies, for example, you look at the VFX team, it's like huge. So although you have people out of jobs who are like sitting and cutting film strips, they're out of jobs. But here you've created so many more jobs for people, and if people can adapt, if they can learn how to use AI as a tool, as I said before, then I mean you're creating more jobs and kind of developing the industry. And before, if you saw the number of films that were made, it was just a handful, right? But now films are being churned out like
But is that good?
of course it's a good thing.
Because churning, like, this is a conversation we've had personally, right?
Yeah.
Like, is quantity better or quality better,
Quality,
right?
yeah, because-
a good example of this is how, speaking of Marvel and Disney productions, right? They have this setup called a dome. Right?
Yes.
I don't know if you've seen it. Like, it's like a bunch of LED panels. What they're ultimately doing is getting rid of the full set design scheme of it, right? You have fancy backgrounds and everything, and your set design's limited to the dome.
Correct.
When you look at it, like, a good example was the Ant-Man movie, right? Entire thing was shot in the dome, right?
Yeah.
Did this, story aside, the movie kind of looked shit, right? That's the honest truth. It's like, I would say a creative who's directing that movie wouldn't intentionally place a dude with like a red suit in front of an orange background.
Yeah.
Right? It seems like a very mismatch, right? And so would you say if this mismatch is fine as long as we are churning more things, or do you think we should scale, like, people should scale back and produce quality content rather than just churning out for the sake of
I
churning
really
out?
feel Marvel needs to stop producing movies for real. Like recently, they came out with this blue bug one.
Oh no, that's
The
DC.
blue.
That's the okay,
Beetle
but
one,
yeah, same thing. DC and Marvel needs to stop producing.
DC is a fun story. Like, DC,
But they just keep making new characters, and it's not making any sense. Like after like the OG ones, it died down.
see, that's where you're wrong, right? Like, as a person who read comic books, I would say the OG characters haven't even started yet, right? So if you look at your comics, Iron Man, right? You would say that Iron Man's the OG character, but Iron Man's really not the OG character. Iron Man's like a B-lister,
No.
right? Iron Man's like a character that none of the studios wanted rights to. That's why they made the movie, right? Nobody wanted, like, initially Marvel's properties, right? They were split between Fox, Sony took Spider-Man, Fox took Fantastic Four and X-Men. These are your A-listers, basically, right? Nobody wanted Iron Man because they thought Iron Man's a shit movie, right? But these guys made an Iron Man. So I would say if you're coming from a background where you enjoyed the comics, or if you're kind of that fan base around it, I would say that they shouldn't stop and they should, like, explore these unique characters a lot more, right? You take X-Men, for example, right? Huge lineup of characters, like from Wolverine to Kitty Pryde, bunch of characters, right? And they haven't even seen the light of day. Like, Wolverine maybe, but they haven't been part of that connected universe. So should Marvel stop? Maybe not. But
I don't know, I feel like the more they start producing, the shittier the movies keep getting.
that is also fair, right? I
Yeah.
think one aspect of it is how they distribute their products as well,
Maybe.
right? One thing is that, so what happened is, before Marvel movies, there used to be like 2 Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the beginning ones were really good. Like the old ones are amazing, but they're like
That's again the same, you're, for the sake of churning more quantity, what they're doing is they're finding shortcuts. Right?
Exactly.
The Russo brothers, right? They invested in this AI startup which reduces their time. But what's the point of reducing time if the end product is pretty crappy to begin with?
Yeah.
Right? So where do you see this industry moving forward? Do you think people will realize that producing franchise movies, right? We can see the stats directly, right? Your one franchise movie, Oppenheimer, right? Not a franchise movie, not at all a franchise movie, very solo movie, makes a lot more money than a movie that is part of the Marvel
Yes.
franchise, right? So where do you see this industry going? Do you think people will invest more in franchise movies, or do you think people will invest more in like solo movies?
I think now the industry focuses a lot on franchise movies. Like if you look at like Fast and Furious, Mission Impossible, all of these ones, like you said, they have to put it to rest at some point. Because I feel there are a lot of good ideas out there. People have a lot of unique scripts and unique stories, but people are not investing in that. Because they're looking at it from a very business, very commercial point of view. It's not only about, there's a lot of audience that people are not touching into. They just want to put out Marvel movies because they feel like your cinemas are going to go full. But you never know, like a film like Oppenheimer, again, not a franchise, look how many people went for that. People went to an extent of choosing the right seat in a cinema, for the most optimum experience. So I feel people have to focus on the stories.
Speaking of movies, right? What film really inspired you to enter this field?
I wouldn't say there's any specific film. I think, I've grown up with a lot of different kind of film, mostly like Tom Hanks and all. I think these kind of movies, mostly movies that have that message, that very symbolic underlining meaning to it, I enjoy. Because I like kind of picking it out and kind of making sense out of it.
Name one movie with a very interesting message to you.
I think the earliest movie I can remember was probably Forrest Gump.
Okay.
I really
nice
like
one.
that.
Yeah.
I like that character actually. It was a very unique character, and how he was put in different situations and how he handled it in a very like whimsical kind of way. I think I really.
When I
liked
see
that.
Forrest Gump, right, all I see is like a trying to live his life.
I mean, essentially, yeah.
That's one way to put it. That's one way to see the movie.
Yeah. It's a bad joke. So, is there anything you want to plug? Can people reach out to you if they have a freelance project they want to do?
Yeah, definitely.
How do they reach out to you?
I don't know. You can put my contact in the
Say it to the
description.
camera.
Just make
Say
it
it to the camera.
Contact me at. I'm not going to give my number out right now.
Social
but
media.
on social media, yes, on Instagram, and I have a website, so take a look at that also.
Just Emmanuel put it in.
Yeah, we'll
Please.
put it in on
Come like right there.
It's not too much trouble.
No, but
Yeah.
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed our episode. I'll see you guys next time. And thank you, Liz, for being here.
Thank you guys for having me here.
for the second time.
They don't need to know that.
You know that.